Welcome to Where Parents Talk. My name is Lianne Castelino. Our guest today is a former high school French teacher and a stay-at-home mom. Julie Beauchamp-Conde is a mother of two. Her 20-year-old son graduated from Discovery Year in 2021. Discovery Year is a certified year-long post-secondary life skills program designed to help young adults better grasp what they want to pursue in terms of a career path or education, and then obtain the skills to make that happen. Participants develop and hone these skills through work terms, workshops, mentorship, coaching, community service, and travel. Julie joins us today from Ottawa. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So let's start with, how did you and your family come to discover Discovery Year?
We were Thierry, my son, was in grade 12, and he had many opportunities for him after graduating. And he was not sure. He was not really sure what he wanted to do. Could have gone to university, could have gone to a college in fashion designer. He could have went back to Portugal to play soccer, take a year off, or go work and as a full-time employment. And so what happened is this counselor at school introduced us to Discovery Year. So we went on the website, we looked at everything, we went to the information session, and Thierry said, you know what? He says, I think I'm going to do this because it's a sabbatical year, but like they say, a gap year with a purposeful gap year. So that's what he decided to do. And we registered him, and it was just an amazing year.
Now, speaking of that year, there was a lot going on in that year because we're talking about 2020. So the timing of this is quite interesting. Take us through what you think would have happened had he not discovered Discovery Year.
Well, probably Thierry would have probably go to university. But to be honest with you, I really don't know because, like I said, some students are ready to go to college, university, on the workforce, whatever they decide, but some of them are not ready yet. And they need that year of transition, that year to gain this maturity, that self-awareness of who they are. So I'm not sure if Thierry would have liked what he would have chosen for his next move, the next stepping stone for his career life or things like this. So I'm not, to be honest with you, he might have, tried this and tried that and till he really gets it. But with Discovery Year, what happened is like you said, it's all about life skills. And life skills are not taught in high school. They're just not taught, and what it gave him is this, to understand that self-awareness of who he is, that confidence of what he's becoming. He learned those new communication skills, that emotional intelligence. And then when he was done, he knew what he wanted to do.
It's so interesting because I'm wondering, as his mother, and you're also an educator, so you have a double perspective on this. When he was going through that sort of self-reflection, trying to figure out what he wanted to do next, what were you seeing in him, and what kind of conversations were you having with him? Did he seem, nervous, fearful, just confused, unsure? And what I'm driving at here is trying to paint a picture of what his mindset was at and what it was like, but through the eyes of you as his mother.
It was fear. It was a lot of anxiety because, unfortunately, parents, we have this tendency of putting expectations on our kids. And we think sometimes that we know best, which we don't know at all. And I tried as much as I could to have this open discussion. And I kept telling him that whatever you decide to do, you need to feel okay with it. You need to feel happy with it. So even though I had those conversations with him, and even my husband, and even my oldest kid, he was still feeling that, what am I going to do? What happened if I make the wrong move? And there's no wrong or right. There's only his decision. And that's what we were trying to tell him. And it's not easy, because some of his peers, they were saying, I have no choice. I have to go in this program because my parents are expecting this. The other one, oh, I know exactly what I want to do. I'm going to do this, and this is where I'm going to go, which is beautiful. But for a kid that didn't know really what to do, and if you look at his opportunity, he could have gone back to Portugal playing soccer. He could have gone to university. He could have gone to Marie Victorin, Design de Mode. He could have went just working or taking that gap year. So I think what happened is that grade 12, some kids are ready and some aren't, for whatever reason. And it's not important, the reason. It's just being aware as a mom that my child didn't know what to do. He had that fear of, what happened if I do this and it's going to be wrong? And we just needed to talk with him and say, there's no wrong in this. There's no wrong, there's no right, there's just your decision. And you got to be able to live with that decision. But again, I will say, a person that knows her or himself will make the better decision, right? You need to know who you are to be able to choose the path or the stepping stones you need to have this transition to adulthood. And if you talk to Thierry, he's always going to say Discovery Year was the best transition in adulthood because he learned those life skills. Yeah.
So you talk about Thierry being fearful. I'm wondering what was going through your mind and through your husband's mind, because a lot of parents who go through this themselves have some anxiety as well. A gap year is not for everyone. So I wonder what kind of things were going through your mind about whether he wanted to take a gap year or should take a gap year or not.
So my husband and I, at first, we were a bit like, oh, is he going to go back after his gap year? Will this gap year make him be more like, not lazy, but, I don't know if this urge, this motivation to go after his goals, So we had the same anxiety in that sense. But we were able to work with it by talking, by communicating, right? And more that I saw that program, I said, okay, this is going to be better for him, right? Because he's going to learn all these communication skills and knowing who he is. So as parents, of course, and then there's a comparison, right? You have friends and they have kids the same age, and he's going to university to do this, to become a doctor, and this and that and that. And we look at people and say, well, what's City's going to do? And we say, well, we don't know. You don't know. And yeah, we don't know. And he will do what he needs to do to be happy, whatever comes along. But at the same time, you have to support your child and show him different opportunities out there, right? So I think at that point, that's where he started to open a little bit more and see and wonder. So us, more that we saw Thierry and we went to the info session and we saw where he was coming from, then you change for your perspective. You need to change your perspective and you follow his lead because he needs to be happy, right? Because now there's so many kids that are changing different faculties or programs at college, university, because it's not meeting their needs, right? So us as parents, of course, we were stressed. But afterwards, and looking at life and saying it's a year in his life, in a whole life. And I had to tell myself, because I have 3 BAs and my husband doesn't have any university degree, but he did teach at university. So our home is a bit different from others. But at the same time, we had all these expectations. So you need to bring them down and don't have any. And just be there and listen, and guide.
It's such an important point, right? Because you're talking about blocking out all the noise that you hear externally. It's very easy to get sucked into all of that noise. There's the fear that your child might be left behind, that he or she may, again, not look at academics and picking that up again after a year. I know many people who feel that about a gap year as well. Is there anything in particular that helped you and your husband get past that? You talked about communicating, but was there anything else in terms of support that perhaps you guys turned to get you through that part?
So we did our research. I think it's really important to do your research and see what's out there, right? We talked, of course, we communicate, we followed his lead. We tried not to get into that, like you just said, that whirlwind of life, how things are supposed to be and all this. We tried things too. We tried things. We used a lot of opportunities in a sense, talking to other people. Where are they at? So we said to Thierry, go talk to people, go find people that are doing something. Like his older brother is an actor. So his life is completely different than Thierry's life. So you see how Michael, my older son, is. Do you see yourself in that situation? Go talk to your counselor, go talk to your teachers, go find your coaches, go talk to your coaches, go talk to people and see how they did it themselves. How did they find what made them happy, what they made them to wake up in the morning and be alive and do what they need to do, right? Mm-hmm. So we did that. And as parents, you just at one point, you need to trust your child. You need to trust your child because your child will find him or herself at one point. And some will take longer, some it's going to be easier, but you need to trust. So there was a lot of trust, a lot of communication, a lot of researching, a lot of guiding, and even for my husband and myself. And we spoke to other parents too. And the thing is, what happens is when you're alone, you think you're going through this alone, but you're not. If you start talking to other people, you're going to see that there's a lot of common things that we have, right? So that was how my husband and I did it. And we saw our child, we saw the process, right? We were there. By seeing the process through his eyes and through our eyes, it gave us confidence. And I truly believe that when there's an action, there's a reaction. So therefore, there was an action on his part, which is asking his questions, figuring out what he wants to do and things like this. And then the discovery year came along. And this is when his life completely changed with all the life skills that he learned. So we at the end, my husband and I, we were happy because he never gave up, right? And we never gave up as parents too. And we didn't get influenced. We stayed our ground and we say, you know what? I trust in him. I trust his abilities. He will find what he needs.
We should mention that he was 18 when he entered Discover Year, correct?
Yes, he was.
And so how would you give us sort of a flavor, an image, illustration of what he learned, like some of the things and some of the experiences that he went through as part of this year-long Discover Year program?
So from the beginning, we saw that there was this this sense of family. It's not like a university or college where you're just a number, sometimes that's how it is. So there's a sense of family. So there's a sense of belonging, right? And then I would say the way that Discovery sets the tone, or sets the way that they're gonna do the things with the children, like the approach and all this. Right there, we saw that, okay, he's gonna be in good hands right there, because they had coaches, they had people that made conferences, they had workshop, they had exercises, they even had micro coaching courses, facilitators that were there, etc. So they are so well guided or taken care of. So right there, it was a safe place. So the safe place is the most important things, especially when you're a teenager or a young adult. And most of the kids that are there, they're kids that are just curious. They just want to, you know what? I'm not sure I want to do this. I would do that. I need to look a little bit more. I need to explore. So in 2 months, I would say, Thierry was there. We saw a switch in him. We saw a feeling that I'm at the right place right now. There was this confidence that came in slowly but surely. There was this self-awareness, what he likes, his challenges, because through Discover Year, that's what they are learning, those life skills. And he saw the communication skills were phenomenal, because even through exercises, and by the way, they have a program for the parents, and I was part of that program, and most of the exercises workshop they had, we went through that ourselves. And I thought I knew it all, but oh boy, I don't. So I had to learn about myself through this and apply it with Thierry during that year, which was phenomenal. So he became this new person where he knew exactly where he was standing. And more that he was discovering who he was, more he was realizing that, oh my God, like I can do this, or I can do this, or I can do that. It doesn't matter. It's what's gonna make me happy, or what's gonna make me feel alive, right? So through that, and they have their own story. I always say with Discovery Year is they learn how to grab the reins of their own life. And it's not mom and dad that are deciding. And that's where the adulthood kicks in, because now it's his decision how he's going to do it. So that's one thing. They have that now he has like new abilities that he didn't know he had. He just discovered that, those capacities, those life skills, especially the emotional intelligence. So we saw our young adult, 18-year-old boy becoming this young man, through the months. And just the first time, because they have to work. That's how they apply those life skills. And they have to work at different places. And he went for a job. And the thing is, he says, Mama, he says, Mom, he says that the employer turned around and he said, wow, you were really well prepared for this interview. And he said, I felt confident. And he says, without Discovery Year, I don't think I would have had this effect on the employer, because they prepare them. And then they prepare them how to be a good employee around other employees, right? The cooperation. So it's like, it's amazing. So we just saw that. And now he just went to design. He decided to design the mud in Montreal, Marie-Victorin. He moved there after Discovery Year. He started his program and he's flourishing because he is in the right place. Because through Discovery Year, he learned about all this and about who he is. And this is what he chose to do. Yeah.
That's wonderful. A lot of parents are going to be listening to this interview, and really having a lot of anxiety in their own situations and their own lives. What could you suggest to them about embracing, like you've described, the process, maybe looking at a program like Discovery Year? And I think the most important thing is something that you said, which is trusting your child, him or her, to make their own decision at the end of it all, because they have to become adults and make their own independent decisions, without their parents at one point. So what would you advise parents who may be not at that level that you're at about how to sort of manage this?
I would say to the parents to look within, because those fears, they come from us. So I would say, look where you are standing in this situation, and look where your fears are coming from. And if it's, oh, my child will not make it, will not have success and things like this, you need to remember that it's his or her story and not yours. And don't have expectations. I think expectations is the worst thing in parents when it comes to the young adults. And of course, our parents had expectations, and we have expectation. It's from generations to generations. And when I say expectation is not the fact that you want them to be happy. Of course, that's okay. But at the same time, it's their life, it's their story. They need to figure it out by themselves. We raised them, and we did the best we could, right? We did the research we needed to do. We learned the things that we needed to learn. We took some from our parents. We modified some others. We spoke to people. We did the best we could to raise them. Now it's not our turn to raise them. We're done raising them. We are there to accompany them. We are there to guide them. We are there to support them. And the way to support is always look at it in a positive way, even if the challenges are really, really hard. And the thing is go get the help that you need. Go get the help that you need as a parent, and go get the help if your child needs help, right? So that's what I would say. And at the same time, you need to trust. You need to trust. And they will figure it out. They will. They will. You just need to be around, and it's the love. You need to feel love. Because when they feel love, they are okay. They say, okay, I have the love, then I'll take the risk, because I can always go get the love. So that's what I would say to parents. I hope it helps. For us, it was very, very difficult because, like I said, the expectation was to go to university, and to do this. And I had to come down. I had to figure out that, Julie, it's not your life. It's your child's life. And you need to respect that. It's about respect. Yeah.
Lots of wonderful advice for parents listening and watching. Julie Beauchamp-Conde, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome, Lianne. It was my pleasure.